Greetings, technology enthusiasts. I am Chandrahas and I am delighted to be here with you representing CyberBrainer. Do you not believe that the technology sector is advancing at an unprecedented rate, making this an opportune moment to acquire the skills that will facilitate your progress? With CyberBrainer, we are empowering you to take control of your own future. At CyberBrainer, we do not merely impart your interests. We assert that information is power, yet it is the application of knowledge that distinguishes you. Our courses are meant to equip you with essential skills, whether you are pursuing data science, understanding artificial intelligence, or delving into cybersecurity. Let us commence the session and seize the future today. Thank you.
We were discussing this advanced report. I think sorting is something we discussed yesterday. And then filter we discussed yesterday. Basically here. Now we know sorting is less. Just change this and edit more. In sorting we know, yesterday we were discussing, if we need to apply sorting, on primary business object, then we will be able to sort of, using here, we will be able to sort. And if you require something to be sorted on related business object, then you need to apply sub-level chart. Here, I think now you guys are, a better understanding like what is primary business object, what is related business object. Here in this case, here also you can see primary business object. All these fields are from primary business object. Now this field legal name, first name, legal name, last name, data for these are from dependents, which is a related business object. I mean, are you, feeling a little bit comfortable in, primary business object and related business object? What does that mean? You know how exactly you can identify the relation and all. I mean, do you have any issues there or are you feeling comfortable there? Yes, I understood. But the relation between the primary business object and related business object based on the ID is right. It will take based on the IDs or column names. It depends like based on ID and columns, the relations you're talking about, right? Here in a worker dependent, the relationship is yes. There is one worker and that worker is having multiple dependents. You can say like, this is a link via employee. There are multiple places. If I show you this thing, and also if this is happening because of the internet, not internet, the tenant is slow. Basically, here you will be able to see the links. I mean, for example, the data and the benefit elections. If you want to understand like how that is related, how work is related to this additional business object, then you can just click on this. For then you can end the switch, what are the things which is actually linking a primary business object with the related business object. This is how, but we know there are some general things which you can understand directly. Let's say, see what is employee life cycle is, like, employee data only like hire to retire. Basically, all the employee data will be stored in the Workday. Now we know some of the things which you can directly, really. For example, a worker independent. This is an easy term. That's fine. It is an easy term. We understand like there will be one worker in the company and that worker will be having multiple dependents. You can also let's say if I ask you to create a report where you need to find all the time off supplied by worker. The time off here is a kind of leave. I hope you know that. But this time off is a kind of leave. For example, sick leave, casual leave, all these are time offs. Now let's say if you want to extract all the time off supplied for one worker or by the worker. Here again the primary business object will be worker, and there will be a related business object will be the leave request event. That's a different business object. Their related business object will be leave request event. Here also, if you see the relationship, then employee ID should be the breeze, right? This employee has applied this many time off. When you will fetch that worker data, you can fetch the time off details of that worker. Worker linking. The connection between the primary business and related business. Are you understanding this? Whenever you get scenarios, I think somewhere you will confuse. For example, when I know someone is asking you to create a report on the some finance kind of things or time and expense, all those things. There, in general, we generally don't understand the relationship, and then we need to figure out what exactly is happening. But you can figure out the link and the relation using this report here. If you can tie, then it will show you like this. This worker business object is related to how many business object and how that worker business object is related to other related business object. Any other question here? No, Ganesh, you can proceed. Now in sorting, I think sorting is something Sorting is something you understood. Now here we will come in on display headers, summarize it as a display subtotals and all, when we will talk about the groupings. Now here in the filter tab, if you go yesterday I mentioned like if you need to apply a filter, see there is more already one data source filter. For these data source, there is already one filter. I think you might have tried. Those all the data sources filters. You can see all active workers. All active employees are all active and terminated employees. There are many data filters you can see based on data filters. Based on data source filter, you can apply filter at a very high level. But let's say if you want to apply a deep level, one more level of filter that you can use this filter tab. In this filter tab, basically you can just add the fields, and if you want employees who have been hired after some particular days, you can apply filter that. Or if you need to add some complex filters, you can apply here. Now there is another tab which is subfilter. The difference between filter and subfilter is filter applies on primary business object and subfilter applies on related business object. In this particular case, filter is applied on worker business object and subfilter is applied on related business object, which is dependence. Now if I try to apply some filter, let's say dependence. This actually breaks the momentum, right? Like you're ready to enter something, but this time it's not allowing you to do that. But that's fine. Here, let's say I want to apply filter. I don't want all the dependents and say I want only dependents with relations with this child. I don't want to sparse. There, what I'll do is a relation. There is one field relation independent business object. Now what is subfilter? Just go to subfilter here. Add dependent. I mean, in this case, dependent is related business objects. I added dependents. If I go relation, right? And here again, you can define the prompts. If you want to. Yesterday, we were talking about the prompt feature. There are 4 options in which 2 options are. One is hard coding. Other is from, you can just put data from, another field. And there were other two prompt options, which we were discussing yesterday. What I'm filtering here is, I don't want here, people, not dependents of relationships. What I'm doing is here, I'm just filter, sparse spots to be printed. And here let me show you, let me add one more, fill their relationship. Relationships. Now let me run this report. Gender we have to be. Right. Let's say not the clear. You will be able to get this data in this report. But now let's say you need to apply filter. Like you don't want any employees who doesn't have any dependent. Basically, benefits team has requested you to generate one report of all the dependents associated with worker. Now let's say this worker is not having dependents. They don't need this worker. They just need workers who have dependents in the Workday. Otherwise, they don't need. Now, if you want to apply that filter, you have already applied filter like the relationship, Spot should not come in the report. Now, the another level filter you need to apply is whoever is having this blank dependents, whoever has not updated any dependents. Then you want to filter out that as well. What you can do is just go to edit. Go to filter, infill. Apply one filter. I was talking about index fill earlier, right? See, these are the index fields. Here you can see we know yellow. This is the high tech field which is yellow in color. These are index field. You will be able to identify easily. Whenever you are creating an advanced report and let's say you're trying to apply filter or sub filter on some field. And you're not able to see that field. Just try to click. Just click on that field here and see if all fields you are able to see is in yellow icon. Then you just understand, like, you need to uncheck something in that. There is one checkbox at optimized for performance. You need to uncheck that to use non-index fields. Here, I don't want any workers who doesn't have any dependents. What I'll do is I'll simply mention, like, dependents should not be empty. Go to all. Air is not empty. Click. Now you notice one more thing here. Basically, whenever I'm running this report, I need to apply filter every time. Let's say I'm testing one report. If I need to apply this filter every time, it's a tedious task. For that one, we have one feature in advanced report. I'll show you that feature. Here now, if you see, there are no workers in this report output where dependents are empty. Each and every worker is having dependents. Workers, only those workers have been paid who have dependents. Now we know that another thing. This is all about, filter and sub-filter. Are you guys understanding? Or do you have any question on filters or filter? It's not that much. If there's any contentious, let me know immediately. And I'll just address that now when I'm saying, like, every time, whenever you be a testing, we are, putting some, filters, some, data manually, before running the report. Now, if we want to know that report to save that, filters, for example, I have created one report. I need to test report multiple times. If if I want, like, I just want to, enter all those parameters just once. And I want to use that parameter every day. What you can do is you go to advanced app there. You have one option. See, you have an option enable save parameters. When you will enable this save parameter, then what it will do is, let me show you what it will do. Now when I'll run, see, there's one option here. You can see a save option right early. It was not coming. Now if I apply filter here, let's say male, female and not declare. And I want to save this filter. Let's say I'm just saving using my name. There is one saved filter now. I clicked. It will run. Now the next time when I'll try to run this report, for example, try to run this report again. Now see, these values are not there. Again, instead of entering same values again and again, we know what I have done is I have saved one filter. You can save multiple filters here. I have saved one filter. You just click on one, save the filter there. See, my name is there. When I'll click on this automatically, this will be failed. This is failed now. You can click on, and then report will be executed. Now quickly I'm going with the other options. This is clear, right? Like what is the enable safe parameters. Now let me show you. This is all about filter and sub-filter tab. Now let's come to prompts. What is prompts? Prompt. Prompts means like while when you will click on run the report. When you will click on run, then if you want, like that should ask some questions from the user before running the report. I mean, if let's say you created one report which is generating the employees based on country, but you don't want to hard code that country. Instead, what do you want? Whoever is running that report, you want that user to pass the country name and that report will generate all the employees. You know who is working in that country. If you want to create something like that, basically you want the user to input some parameters, and based on that parameters, you just will be able to see the data. In those cases, we will use prompts. Now here there are some options like these are when we use this worker for a CMNE reporting data source, then we know it comes with by default prompts. These three prompts: contingent worker type, employee type at worker types, this comes in a by default. We have not added this prompts here. When you use this data source, then automatically this data source is bringing those prompt values as well. If you click on this related action, if you click on this, see here in the end comment, if you can see contents built in prompts, worker type, employee type and contingent worker type. This information will be there in the comment. Here, for this field, for this data source filter, you are able to see this is updated in description. But there are some fields in the Workday where you will be able to see some, one different section here, and that will be prompt section. That will let you know the default prompts. Whatever work they will give when you use that field. Basically, what I'm trying to let you know is when you use any data source and data source filters, those data source filters will bring some by default prompts. These are by default prompts. If you don't want these prompts to be shown while running the report, there are some options here. If you want to make this prompt, as a mandatory thing, there is one required checkbox. You can just click on this required checkbox and this will become mandatory. Without entering any values. Without entering any values, you will not be able to run the report. For example, let's say if I make this mandatory, required one right now, whenever I'm running the report, I'm not passing any contingent worker type. But when I make this required, then I need to pass something. There will be some contingent worker types. I need to pass at least one contingent worker type to run the report and generate values. You can make fields mandatory while running the report, using this required tab. Now, the second is do not prompt at runtime. See, in this case, there are 5 prompts. These 3 prompts are created by default from the data source filter. But the top 2 prompts, this is something we have created. How did we create? We applied filter. In filter, we just mentioned, compare data with default prompt. We check this populate and define from defaults. And it brought the user defined prompts here. When this user defined prompts are populated, that means now you want user to enter some values. Here also, some of the prompts. You want to make mandatory. If you want to make mandatory, you can simply, click on required here and it will become mandatory. And if I, click on required here, when I'll run the report, then what you will see is you will see one greater star mark. Rate sum up on this, gender prompt. Now, here there are 2 prompts. One is user defined prompt. Other is by default prompts. Here we know we are not passing anything in contingent worker type, employee type, worker type prompts. And if we are not passing, unless I know if you are not passing, we don't want to see my, while running the report, then what you can do is you can just click on this one. When you will check this checkbox, this means this will not come now when you will run the report. And then the last is do not include in subtitle. What this is, I'll let you know. Let me, run this report. What is subtitle? I'll let you know. Now let's see, when I'll click on run, you will see some different view. See the 3 we know system defined, see the data source filter defined. Prompts are not coming because I love it. Now here in gender, earlier there was no rate based on this rate. It means that field is mandatory. I mean, that's the convention we are using everywhere. Here when we check that gender as a required checkbox, then here also you can see this as a mandatory. You can see this star mark. Now again, let me run this report using my filter. This is something you're clear, right? What is I mean? If we need to hide, if we have defined any prompts, whether it's a user defined or system defined, if you want to hide those prompts, while running the report, you will be able to do using, there will be there. There is an option in prompt tab and you can just select that and you will be able to hide it. Now if I run this, here you can see gender female, male not declared. This is, subtitle. If I uncheck that, if I check to hide the subtitle, for this gender field, then when you will run this report, you won't be able to see any parameters, which you have passed. You will simply see the output. I'm not going to do that. You just try, that thing, by yourself and let me know if you face any issues there. Because, when I try, it will consume a lot of time there. You just try, You know this thing? Let me again go to edit mode. From next week, you know I'm going to increase. You know some timing of the session. You know it takes a lot of time actually, just clicking on something. Now here what I was talking in the prompt tab. The subtitle, you know which I was talking about. Here in the last, you have an option to not include in the subtitle right now whatever you know. You show there. You know the parameters that. That is something you were able to see because it's not. This is unchecked. When you will check this, then you know that will hide. You know those parameters as well. You will not be able to see any parameters for this gender. Now let's say if you are passing some higher date, you want to show that higher date in subtitle. Then don't check this checkbox. If you take this checkbox, then you won't be able to see higher date as well. Now it is unchecked. When you will pass any higher date value, then you will be able to see when you will run the report. This is this thing. Now here this to this to our mandatory kind of thing. Something you need to understand basically when you are creating any prompts. When you are creating any prompts, then you need to check this checkbox. When you will check this checkbox, it will populate the prompts. And then it will automatically uncheck. Whenever you create, you make changes. Let's say you are adding any prompts or removing any prompts. Then again, you need to check this checkbox to populate new prompts here. But let's say, if you want to delete from, for example, here in this case, I have defined one user-defined prompt, that is gender. If I want to remove this prompt, I will change the filter criteria and I just want this prompt to be removed from here as well. In that case, whenever you will, click on this, it will not automatically remove and say you need to remove manually. But let's say, you have added a new filter, new problem filter, and there you have assigned, that filter as a prompt value. Then if you want to populate that new, that new prompt, then you need to click on this one. It will populate the new prompts. And here again, this plays a prompt values in the subtitle. Whatever prompts you are getting. If you want to, in the subtitle, you can, check this checkbox. Otherwise, you can ignore this. Now next thing is we have, output tab. Here in output tab, you are able to see, like, we have mentioned table here. You will be having other options as well, like, chart, histogram something, those kinds of things. Let's say, whatever options we have here configured. See here you can see chart and table and gauge. There are, different kind of output. Whatever output you want to generate, you will be able to generate those out. Now there are some, workload options. If you want this report to be configured in, workload, then you will be able to do that. If you want some, help, if you want to, describe this, let's say, you created one report and you wanted everyone to understand what this report is all about. You want to say, like, this report is, this report will extract all the benefit enrollments of all the active workers in the system. If you mention this, then whoever is opening this report, that person will be able to understand what this report is all about. If there is any complexity, anything you want to mention, you can mention that a brief description This is what we have in our book. Then there is one tab, say it. In say attack, you will be having multiple options here. The first option is don't say report definition. When this is clicked, this means apart from you, nobody will be able to see this report in the system. I mean, some people will be able to see this report in the system. Like, for example, if someone is report administrator. If someone is report administrator will be able to see this report all the time. They will be able to see all the reports in the system. But let's say, you are employed. I am employed. We are working in the same. You created this report and you mentioned it. Don't share this report definition. Then when I'll try to search and I'll not be able to see this report. If I search here in the search box, I will not be able to see any report with this name. But again, if I want to view this report, then I can use one task, view custom report, and then I'll be able to see this report. But I will not be able to run this report. To run this report, this report has to be shared with my access. I mean, my name should be there. Now this is don't say report definition. And the next thing is say share with all authorized users. When you will click on this one, it will ask you to enter some of the users. Let's say, all of us, all of 5, all of us. We are working in any project. We created one report. We just want that report to be shared among us. We just, every one of us wants to access that report. In that case, what you can do is you can just click on, say sorry, no, sorry. That's the last one. Here's here, with all authorized users means whoever is having access to the columns and data sources used in this report. Whoever is having access to all the fields, they will be able to see the this report in the system. If let's say, in this report there are 10 columns, 10, and this. There are some fields and filters are filtered. Let's say we are working in a team and, every one of us, is having access to all those fields. Whatever has been used in this report. Then when you will, share with, authorized users, you will be, all of us will be able to see this report. Now the last one is share with the specific authorized groups and users. Here you can define, like with whom this report will exactly be shared. For example, again, we are working in a team and there is another team. Now we have created, one report for benefits involvement. We want to, as we are developers, we want to view that, view that report. And that those persons are, benefits business. They have requested that report. They have requested that report. Admin, that report has to be shared with them as well that they can run the report. They are. When you will select share with a specific authorized groups and users, what you will see is you will see authorized groups and authorized users. In authorized users, you can add any security group. Let's say you created one security group and in that security group you added 5 people. And we want to say this report with only those 5 people. You can just, add that security group or, let's say you want to say this report with the report to admin integration. Admin develop. Admin, here are admin. If you want to say a benefits admin, if you want to say this report with not, the name of the users and say with name of the roles, like whoever is the benefit partner in the company, they will be able to, see this report. There, you can mention the security group directly. For example, if I want to say this report with HR admin, what is? I'll just type HR admin. CH. There are HR integration admins in the system admin. There are many security groups. If you want to say here with the say this report, with one specific role in the system, you can use authorized group. Now let's say you want to say this report with some specific users. Specific users means, let's say, in absence domain, there are 5 people working. And one person has requested you to create one report for him on. He doesn't want that report to be shared with others. And if you want to say that report with any individual, there is one authorized user. You need to enter that username, and then that report will be shared with that username. Let's say Logan McNeil. I want to say this report with Logan McNeil. This is one of the important part. Do you guys have any question? Here you can try this thing. Let's say, if you want to test this thing, see, I have created this report. I want to say this report with the Logan McNeil. I want to see like how whether Logan McNeil can see this report or not. In lower tenant, we have one option here. In local tenant, in lower tenants, we have an option, a start proxy. You can click on start proxy. Whoever profile you want to see. Basically right now, I am logged in as this, Jacqueline. Now I want to log in as Logan McNeil. I want to take the proxy of Logan McNeil. What we can do is we can just type here, Logan McNeil. Got the name. And here now you are logged in as Logan McNeil. This is we call proxy feature. I have taken proxy of Logan McNeil. Basically, I am able to do transaction. By her name. Now, this is something you will not be able to do in the production. You can only this thing in the lower tenants. First of all, basically, why we are having this feature. Let's say, you created one report. You are working in any projects and in production, you've got some issue. You need to fix that issue. Before you fix that issue, you need to understand what that issue is. Unless there's some user has, raised that issue. What you can do is in lower tenant, let's say sandbox. You just take the proxy of that user, replicate that issue. You will be able to understand the issue. Then you do the fix. Test by your ID. Then again, you take the proxy and you will be able to test. In this case, basically, I have shared this report with Logan McNeil. I have not saved yet. When I will say, then if I want to taste, I can just take the proxy of Logan McNeil. I'll try to search that report. Right now, I have not saved. If I RDT colon again, we'll be able to see most of the report because she is the super user in the system. But again, here we can't see that because that report has not been shared with anyone. These reports are shared with the report admin and all. That's why this user is able to see here in the search box. If I'm trying to search this report, I'm not able to find this report. The new guests, the next batch too, let's say, let me copy this report. Let me try to search this report. I cannot search because I have not, shared this report with this user. Basically, I'm not getting anything. But if I use View Custom Report, and save the report name, see here, I can see this report when I click on. I can see this report. Now if I try to run this report, you can related action, go to custom report. First of all, see there are limited options. I can see each and every options. Now you know this report, I can just edit. I cannot run this report. First of all, this report has not been shared with Logan Mac. I took the proxy. I'm not able to do. Just giving the option. Now if I go to and why we are you know this, Logan Mac is getting option. Because this Logan Mac is having a super user access. This Logan Mac is security admin in our report and everything in the system. That's why this, Logan Mac is having all that. And now if I want to run this report via this Logan, what I need to do is just go to report. Go to say service specific authorized groups and user. Let me mention Logan McNeil. If any of it go with what they are training, you know what they're training? I mean, spending from what they get, the real training from what they are, where they will give you certification and all that. You are going to use this Logan Mac account a lot. Click. Earlier, I was not able to run this report. Now see, I am able to run this report. I am having all the options here. If I click on related action, then you will be able to see all the options which I was able to see using Jacqueline's profile. See, now we know I have beaten every option. This is how proxy works. This is how you will be able to test. Now if I need to stop the proxy, I don't want to use Logan McMichael profile anymore. I want to use my profile now. What you can do is you can just type it. Stop proxy. There is one task you can see right. Stop. Click on that. Click. Let's go to this report again. You understood, how this, sharing options work. Now we know you're across this tab. Now the last thing in this tab is report on the buy. Report on the buy means, this person is the owner of this report. This person is the owner of the report and you can change the owner of the report as well. That is something I'll show you later. Now because when I click again, it will take some time. I'll show you how exactly we can change the ownership of the report. Basically, changing ownership means, let's say I am creating the report. I have created the report. That report is owned by me. Now I am leaving the company and I want to, I want this report to assign you as an owner. There is one option here and now. We can do that. Now the last step here we have is the advanced tab. Just tell me. Let's say, this last advanced tab. In last, In Advanced tab, there are many options you can see here. The first of all, optimized for performance. This is something you know. I have already mentioned you what this is, what actually this is doing. When we know this, we know how this options. This option is check, then it will allow you to use only index fields. When you will uncheck this, then it will allow you to use non-index field. And as soon as you use non-index field, you know that is going to impact the performance. That's what you know. This warning is coming here. But it doesn't mean you can't use that. I mean, try to use index field. Now you know. Let's say you know you're trying to use index field, but you know your work is not getting happening with using those fields. You want to, basically use another field which is non-index field. In those cases, you can use it. There is no harm in that. Now we know this background only does less. That is something we don't need to understand. Then here, there are view options. There is freeze first column. Freeze first column is something you know. If you want to freeze the first column of the report, then you will be able to do using this checkbox. This is something like Excel in Excel sheet. You are having one option to freeze first row, freeze top row, freeze first column. This is this works like that. You can try whatever options I'm explaining right now. You can try, whenever you create any, advanced custom report, you try all these options. And let me know if you want to understand those options in data. Now we know enable preferred currency. There's something you're not going to use, enable save parameters. I already shown you what exactly enable save parameters. Means, if you want to use same parameters, multiple times. If you don't want to enter, parameters manually, then you can use this. Enable save parameters. The first time when you enter the parameters, you can just save that with any name and you can use. And then you can use the save to parameters whenever you run the report. Next important feature, what we have here is web services options. Earlier I was mentioning when you will create a report, you can use that report as a web service. When we talk about web service, what does that mean? Let's see. What does that mean? This report is enabled as a web service. You can see this report is enabled as a web service. If let's say this is advanced report and the support is not enabled as a web service. And if you want to enable this report as a web service, what you need to do is you just need to check this checkbox. When you check this checkbox automatically, this web service API version will be populated and namespace will be populated. This namespace is generally used, accessibility to identify the data from this report. That is something that we are going to discuss anyways in accessibility. But when you will check this checkbox, this list of options will be enabled and you will get the latest version and it will automatically create some namespace. You can edit this namespace as well, based on your requirement, but that's fine. Nobody is going to ask you to do that. But let's say you want to make some relevant names, you will be able to do that. Now, if you want to enable this report for worksheet, you can enable this report for worksheet, but that's not part of integration. You can just try that and test that. A Prism is another technology. Tools you can say we have here in Workday. We are not going to use Prism. Here in the Advanced app, mainly you need to understand this optimize for performance. This view option enables the parameters. Please first column this web service option. These are the most important things you need to understand when we are talking about the advanced custom report. Then we know this one is the last temporary report. In temporary report, basically you can make any advanced report as a temporary report. Let's say you want to delete that report after 1 week or 15 days or 20 days, you will be able to do that. How exactly you will be able to do that? You just take this temporary report checkbox. You just mentioned, like many of these, what should be deleted from the system. Whatever date you will end up. This report will be deleted after that particular date. This is a job of the temporary report. Now what I wanted to show you this web service. You know how exactly web service works. Let me click on first. See if you are thinking to apply for any interview in Workday. Then you should remember all these options. They're going to ask. Now I have checked this web services enabled as web service. And when any advanced report is enabled as web service, you will be able to see one additional column getting its override XML alias. These are the attributes. First of all, what is web service? Web service is a language, if two systems want to talk to each other using internet, then they have to communicate in some form of language. Those languages are, XM language and JSON language. Web service is a medium, from which they can communicate with each other. How exactly they are going to communicate with this Workday? Let me show you. Here, if you go to related action, then if you go in the last, there is one option web service. I'm going to explain all this, options as well. Maybe tomorrow, but let's see. This web service. In web service, you can see that some view URLs. Now there are multiple formats that you can see. These are, see if you see earlier when you run the report, you got data in the Excel format. Now you want this data to be shared with another system via web service. Other system, there are some, limit, languages in web services. By the system understand, one is the XML language. Then another is the, JSON format. I'll show you how this XML looks like, how this JSON looks like. Let me show you this XML first. I'll show you this thing, tomorrow. What we need to do is, this is a REST API. You might have heard REST API and SOAP API, but Workday is having both the web services option. But in a Workday is having no public web services. Those are SOAP web services request. You can call Workday using those SOAP web services and you get the data. Now the second is, this is a report. This is us. Whenever you enable any report as a web service, that becomes RAS. RAS means report as a service. If I need to type here, it's like this, we call this as a service. How does this report, is used as a services? Show you. This is, one XML. This is one REST API. If I click on, right click on, if I copy URL, not the copy text. See, this is how URL looks like. This is how URL looks like. This is one of the web service. If you want the data, if you want the support data to be shared with another system, let's say in a company you have one Power BI system. That Power BI system is having capacity. They can use this web services to get data directly from the Workday. Instead of creating integration, what you will do is, you will share this URL with them. And along with this URL, you will see the credentials. The login credentials. What they are going to do is they are going to configure those login credentials. And using, whenever they configure those login credentials and just click on this one. They will be able to get the data. Here I mean now you can see that like how exactly they will be able to get the data. What is this? You know why we have got this? What is the use of this thing? Whenever we get the data, when I show you the data in XML format and JSON format, you will be able to understand. You know what is that? What is the use of that? How exactly are the system understand and talk to each other? This is something I will show you tomorrow. Here in the report, most of the options we have already covered. You can explore. You can just do some hands-on, try to explore, try to apply filters or filter, try to generate some prompts. Try to say that report with someone else. Take the proxy of that person and try to search that report. All those things you can try now and in advance. Whatever options I have explained. You can try those things. Please do like, share and subscribe to our channel.